Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Great
Yeah.
platform, Chef.
Good morning. How are you this morning? Or afternoon, I should say.
Yeah.
Downtown sunny Las Vegas at 108 degrees today.
Yeah, it's a nice hot one. It's been hot for a couple of days and everything in
Yeah.
between. Hey, it's great to have you next to me. Hey, we're doing this. We're co-hosting this show, making it happen. There's always some
Yes,
incredible
we are.
things with our veterans, our combat veterans, our sponsors, supporters, volunteers, everything in between. Brian Colburn in the background pushing buttons, making things happen. He's a coach now and doing all kinds of coaching for podcasts, and he coaches me all the time. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Hey, this week I got Noble Woods on deck. Noble Woods, thanks to coming to the show. He may have some technical difficulties, but we're going to try to bear with it and bring him on deck, hear his story, and do a whole bunch of stuff. Noble, how you doing?
I am outstanding. Thank you very much for inviting me today, Chief and Chef.
Yeah, it's good to have
Yeah.
United States Marine Corps, and a veteran that had a lot of struggles coming up to where he is today. So I'm looking forward to hearing your story, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just here to share my experience, strength, and hope. I know a lot. My story isn't unique. I know a lot of other service members that have gone through what I've gone through and persevered, and then others that need a little hope. And I hope I can give that to them today.
Yep. It's got to be about the hope.
Hey, talk about growing up and what inspired you to join the Marine Corps, and going through that process, and then we'll get into your transition and how that all worked out.
All right, I came from pretty austere beginnings on the south side of Chicago, but I don't want to make it sound like I was just dirt poor and didn't have anything. I lived between two households, multi-generational, right? My grandmother was born in 1898, and her mother was a freed slave down in Arkansas. And my mother and I left my father when I was about 4. Well, I was born in Iowa. And then we migrated to Chicago to be with my grandmother, my uncle, and my aunt. As you can tell, everybody was much older than me. I was a product of my father's last relationship, but I was my mother's only child. So I had 3 half brothers that were 16, 17, and 18 years older than me. They didn't grow up in the same household, but all 3 of them served during Vietnam from the beginning to the end. My father, he was in the AAF during World War II, before it was the Air Force, the Army Air Force. And back then, Black folks could only serve in the day room and be cooks. So he worked at Chinook Field during World War II. And so it was a great history of service in my family. As I was saying earlier, when I was growing up, didn't have much, but my mother always instilled in me, God bless the child that has his own. So I had the privilege of going to a high school on the south side, Percy Julian, that was a signature football program. The kids there came from many different social economic backgrounds. So it was a lot of middle class African-American kids there. Also, there were poor kids like me that fit somewhere in there. But it was almost an expectation that you would do the best that you could academically, and you were expected to graduate and for the most part, it even at least further your education, whether it be in a trade or somebody like me was expected to go to college. I had good grades. It wasn't luck. I just had a good memory, and I graduated at the age of 16, right? So I was very immature. Even though I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can now. Go ahead.
I was very immature, and I had been in a year before I was old enough to even have my mother sign me in. So they kept me in a file. And it wasn't that I didn't want to go to college, but I just knew that I didn't want to waste anybody's money. I just wasn't ready to go. So uh, I had disappointed a recruiter once and taken a mock ASVAB. And when he looked at my scores and it was like, oh, this is great. And he was like, when can I sign you up? And this was my junior year. He said, is your birthday? It, it's 68. He's like, you're 15. I was like, yeah. And he was very upset, but he kept being a tickler file. And so how I ended up joining the Marine Corps was I made it to graduation. I didn't apply for any schools. And back then in Chicago, you only had one cable channel and it was on TV. And it was a Sunday and I was sitting around and drinking beer. And I watched First Blood followed by Red Dawn. And it was about 6 p.m. in the evening. And I'm just sitting around the house and I get a phone call from this successor recruiter. He's like, I just came across your file and you were too young to join. What are you doing with yourself? And I'm just like, nothing. What do you got going on? And he came and picked me up. I was just such a lay down. It was horrible. He drove me out to South Chicago the next day and gave me that practice test again. And oh my God. And within a week, he had me going down to MEPS. And the only thing that I came away with, because I was supposed to go into what was it? Aeronautics, or I wanted to do something with computers. But he said, if not, you can always be a cook. And that was a joke, right? So I get down there and I wanted to be an MP. That was another thing. Well, I got to MEPS and they told me you're too young. You have to be 19 to be an MP. And these other things that you want, they won't get you out of here when you wanted to, because I wanted to get out in February. I wanted to stay, party the whole summer and then leave before that Chicago winter hit. It was like, well, none of that stuff is available, but you have anything else? And I was like, oh yeah, I've been cooking for myself, since I was little, and yeah, I'll be a cook. And when I got back to that recruiter station, it wasn't any other poolies there, but I just remember the laughter from those three recruiters when I told them that I had signed up to be a 6-year guaranteed cook in the Marine Corps. I didn't know that I might as well have been a grunt, but I learned when I got to, boot camp and things got assigned, I was like, this is going to be a mess. But the thing about it was I always anesthetized. I had been drinking. I was born to two alcoholics, one functional, one violent. I always drank regularly by the time, I reached my senior year. And it was the only time that I felt like I could do something better than other people. I just felt the warm and fuzzies from it. And when I got to Camp Pendleton, July 15th, it was payday, 1986, I was at Mainside. And I had got there with 5 other people that I went to cook school with. And the reason why they sent us in such a big pack was that the S4 officer had been locked up because he was snorting cocaine with 2 female lance corporals, a suicide, which was actually a murder for SGLI, and just the place I went was a mess. The gunny had 6 DUIs. It was bad times. But us 6 were going to replenish the people that had been, removed. So the thing I just want to point out was my barracks. I got to Headquarters Company Marine Corps Base July 15th, like I said, and our barracks, the cook's barracks, I was on the bottom floor of 1398. Shout out 1398 Mainside Pendleton, and our mess hall was right less than 100 steps away from my front door. They had us right where we needed to be. And even with the funky hours, we were supposed to be there on time, but I unfortunately discovered that there was an E-Club less than a quarter of a mile away and a package store less than a half a mile away. And so I just had problems being on time. I had problems with discipline, but I was just always fortunate enough that people liked me a lot. I never got office hours. I always self-reported myself to SACO, but I never actually went to treatment. And so for me, I just was breezing through the Marine Corps. I got promoted on time, even though other people didn't believe that I should have. I learned a lot about leadership, but most of all, the best thing that happened to me personally, I had tricked a woman into marrying me. She was a young Marine from Florida, and we ended up having 2 kids together. And when everybody else was gearing up to go to Okinawa, I got sent to Adak, Alaska for a year. And that's where I was at the Marine Corps Security Force at NAS Adak. And I'm supposed to be there supporting as a cook, but everybody else there was on nuke duty down at the compound. And my drinking continued, but I learned more about being a leader. I learned more about being a Marine Corps leader there, because these kids, they went from boot camp to OCS. I'm sorry, not OCS, to, oh my God, infantry, School of Infantry, SOI. And then they went to Mare Island for special training. And then they came straight up there, and they wouldn't get any type of liberty until they passed all their security tests. And it was just like, oh my God, these kids knew more about being Marines than Marines. And they taught me to be a better leader. And even though I drank, I didn't get in much trouble. I just felt like I really had made my mark. And by the time I came back to the lower 48, I got a DUI. I had my second kid, and then it was time to go to the first Gulf War. And I'll tell you this, I bought 2 cheap fifths of gin and got on a C-130 and flew for a day and a half. I took a shower in Rhein-Main, Germany, and then I woke up on an airstrip in Saudi Arabia. And I went to Camp 5 Al Jabal. It was 15 cooks. We only had a gunny and a staff sergeant, and we were just there with 2 guards on the gate that were not Marines, but I was there from we left Pendleton September 15th, 1990, and we got there about the 17th. I don't know how the clock turns back and forth when we got over there, but I stayed there, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, got to meet Storm and Norman, General Gray. I was in the rear with the gear, with the meth. I was the first cook ever assigned to them. So long story short is I made it through there. I got back to stateside. I had amnesty, and they gave me my driver's license back. And by 1992, I had another DUI. And I never really got in any trouble with the Marine Corps, but with the state of California, this time, and not just picking up trash, I had to do an 18-month multiple conviction program and do tons of litter pickup and whatever Caltrans had for me. But to tell you how hard head of an alcoholic I was, it took me 3 years to complete an 18-month program. And by that time, I finally got done. And it was time. My marriage had disintegrated. I was, 1994 4, my wife had left me. My kids were gone. I was getting ready to get out the Marine Corps in January of 95. And that's when I had gotten into methamphetamines, which was very prevalent. It was the world capital for production at that time. I don't know. Everything I tell you now is with through the lens of rehab, right? So they told me I was like an elephant selling peanuts. You know, I was more of an addict than I was a dealer or a manufacturer or a distributor. So 1995, the 25th of January, they kept me on base until 1630. They finally cut me a check, and I had my exit interview with the CEO, which I had never met at first FSFG. And I had to go and cash that check because my driver's license, well, my ID card was going to expire the very next day, and I didn't have driver's license, right? So I cashed that check, and I was like, oh, here's a freedom that I needed. I'm going to hustle and make tons of money. And that was the end of 8 years, 11 months, and 25 days of a safety net because
wow. Hey, Noble, before we go any further, I just want to say, for one, thanks for sharing, because you know, there's so many amazing like situations where we don't really talk about ourselves in a way that really kind of sets us in kind of a downward spiral of events and the looking glass, right? But like you said, you're looking through it from being sober, and obviously now you're going to go into the transition and how it looked, and that freedom and that good, that last paycheck, and shoot, my ID's expired. And, you know, I just want to say thanks a lot, because a lot of our veterans listening, maybe, you know, you may be at that point and need that support. And there's so much support and help. And you're going to get into this whole, you know, housing for the veterans. You're helping doing a whole bunch of stuff in San Diego and the Elysian Shores. That's going to be a great story too. So go ahead, brother. I just wanted to say thanks a lot for sharing, because that's such an impactful story, and well said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I can share this honestly because I have been in recovery for a long time, and the only problem I have with being anonymous is if I don't let anybody know and blow my anonymity, how are they going to know who to look to for help if they need it, right? So, yeah, got out the 25th of January, and by April 15th, my house was raided by NIS, the task force, the whole 9 yards. Got a good lawyer. I was a mess. And then I ended up having to go to a county sheriff's mandated program. I did 6 months, 20 days, cleaning up San Diego County. I had to stay at a work camp. It kind of helped me get straightened out for a little while. But in 1996, I got out of there, and I moved up to Los Angeles. I was couch surfing. And this is what I want to pass on to people. You know, you speak of homeless veterans. It doesn't mean you have to be unhoused. You can just not have an address. You're living out of a P.O. box or a general delivery box. And that's who I was at that time, living on Sepulveda and Sherman Way up in Van Nuys, working in Pacoima, in a scrubbing metal as a temp worker. I worked on a street called Sniper Alley in Pacoima. The cops wouldn't come up there because it was one way in and one way out. And I was just temping there for Remedy. And I stayed in LA for about 9 months, and I lived my life between part-time, temp employment, and the Liquid Zoo is where I I found myself at this bar that they were my family, and I was there with a bunch of Korean War era vets. They had good jobs, you know. They worked in Conex boxes, putting together comm boxes and stuff like that, and I was sitting here doing these odd jobs, trying to figure my life out. And then my mother got sick, and I moved back to Chicago. But in 1997, I gave up my parental rights to my kids because I was in no shape to you know, be a father to them. And my ex-wife had gotten married in the whole 9 yards, and I didn't have anybody supporting me to support kids. So I did what I thought was best so they could have a clean break, because I didn't think much of myself at the time. And so my back door into not going straight to Hades was my mother got sick, and I was going to go take care of her back in Chicago. But I got there, I was still drinking and using, but I was employable. And when she passed away, I really went downhill because it was just me. I had an aunt that was 13 years older than my mother. She was in her late 70s. And I had no real relationships with anyone. I had a background that could only, you know, give me a logistics job, you know, and I was working for Mack Trucks in a warehouse. We could build everything except we had so many parts. We could build a truck, everything but the tires. It was a good job, a good paying job, but I was wasting my money trying to bury my feelings, right? Feeling that I'm behind, feeling that I'm a failure. I've served my country, and all I had for it was 2 DUIs and, you know, no children to raise. And so I went on until the wheels fell off, until I didn't have the guts to take my own life, but I just didn't have the will to go on as I was going on. And one day I ended up in a cardiac venture ward, which later I found out I was having panic attacks. I thought I was dying, but I was having withdrawals and stuff like that. And my boss was like, "You're too young, and you are a Marine, and you should not be having these issues." He's like, "But be honest, are you having problems with drugs or alcohol?" And I told him yes. And he was like, "I can't let you come back to work here until you get help, but I'm going to support you." And that guy, I owe my life to. But later on, I found out that Mack Trucks had sent him to rehab about 15 years earlier. And so he was paying it forward. But I told him, I was like, "Look, I'm going to be gone. But I want to go be around vets and recover." And that's when I went to Hines VA Hospital out on the west side, in the western suburbs of Chicago. Huge campus. They got a Ronald McDonald's house on board. They have over 200 buildings on that property. And they even have facilities for disabled veterans that, you know, have nowhere else to go there. And I owe my life to that hospital. I got sober there September 27th, 1999. And it put me on the right track. And since then, I've moved around. I've done a lot of things, especially I got back here in 2009. I'll speed run it for you. And in 2011, I was working for a university that was an online university, and they introduced me to Operation Stand Down. San Diego Veterans Village out here once a year gives respite to veterans. And I got to go and set up and work and washing dishes out there the first year that I went. But I ran into people that I knew from the time that I was in, and there, before the grace of God, I would have been on the other side of that line, getting chow and seeing an attorney and, you know, trying to get social services. Right. So I stayed involved with them. I did some, going to feed people down at Father Joe's, but I stayed in touch with that homeless community. I did everything with Stand Down, even when a VFW put one on up in North County, San Diego, which this county is so big, it's segregated, right? We got Navy down here in San Diego, Marines up in North County. Right. Yeah. So
that's right.
I did that from 2011 to 2020 when the pandemic came. But then I got really involved with a church out here, First United Methodist. And after George Floyd died, they wanted to start a racial justice committee, and I chaired that. So I've been doing a lot of community work, and then got my wife worked for the small investment bank, and one of the partners started inviting us to philanthropic events, right? And I went to this Reality Changers event about a year and a half ago, and I'm sitting there with money managers and stuff like that. And this one guy says, "Did you hear that this building downtown San Diego sold for $45 million or whatever, right? But in 2003, it sold at 120 whatever." And he was like, "The market is crashing." And another guy pipes up and he's like, "Yeah, I went to my office downtown yesterday and my secretary couldn't get in until 7:30 because some homeless guy was sitting in front of the door." And I'm just struck by, the inhumanity that was at this table. I'm just like, that person was standing in front of that door because he's unhoused. And all the money in this room right now could make this happen. Well, anyway, not being enraged, not opening my mouth, the One Big Beautiful Bill passed a year later, and it gives 100% bonus depreciation, which means that if you take a existing building and you turn it into housing, everything that goes into that building that's new, that can be moved, say furniture, carpets, whatever, you donated that money, you can write that off as a tax write-off, 100% of it right now, and not depreciate it, over time.
5 years.
Yeah. So I'm saying empty buildings and east of downtown, along with 372 of the hardest cases of veterans on the ground, it's about 1,000 people in these tents east of downtown. And I'm just like, I'm gonna start a nonprofit, and we're gonna put those people in those buildings. And I started out with $130 million proposal that I was shopping around. And let me just say, I didn't know what I was doing, but my vision was big enough to get me in rooms with people that could make it happen if it was feasible. Right. I learned what wasn't feasible and what was. I sat with the city councilman's office, Steve Whitburn's office, with his planning team. They were like, "We just handle legislation." And I found out that a lot of these buildings that were, and I digress. The vacancy rate in Class B and C buildings in San Diego, downtown office buildings right now, is between 25 and 30%.
Yeah.
These buildings are sitting down there and they're going at such a discount that it just makes sense, right? But they're older buildings, and we've had this debacle where the city about a decade ago bought a building and they drilled into the walls, and then all the people got sick from asbestos, right? And they lost so much money on this project that people don't like to hear you talk about adaptive reuse, which is crazy because since COVID, nobody's going back to these buildings. You know what I mean? They're not going to work back there. We work different now.
Right. Everybody's working from home. The and where it used to not be very looked at as like something you can do, now everybody's like, "Hey, I'm going to work at home," even though it's not rated for work. People are doing that.
Right. They
But-
tell me,
but these
come
these
into the
buildings-
office.
But these buildings downtown that you're talking about, they're rated for work, but they're also now building them in Denver like rapid. They're just turning them into housing. I mean,
They're
I mean, why-
they're zoned now as by right. And that was a term that I learned, that local legislation has made it easier. If you're going to buy this and turn it into housing, then you don't have to go in front of the city council and beg and then fight a historical society, whatever. If they're in this by right zone, you just you can buy it, and you won't have, as long as you have proposed to turn it into housing, then it's good to go. You don't have to go through all the approvals. So yeah. Long story short, I'm a developer now, and I'm begging for money for people that have it and telling them they can get a tax break for it. And a lot of people shake their heads. Some people are coming around. But soon these Class A buildings are going to be falling into this
category.
Category as well. So that's where I'm at right now.
No,
but every time I get ready to buy a building, I don't have the money, and then they buy it for not affordable housing, but they transition into condos that nobody can buy here.
Yeah, and you're working hard at getting these guys into sober living, into some sort of treatment availability, as well as housing.
Yes.
This Elysian Shores is kind of your baby. You've groomed it to where it is today, and you're constantly trying to make things happen for the homeless in the San Diego area, which is super important. We got about 5 more minutes. I want you to take that time, and when we finish up, I'll ask you to give any final statements and anything you want to do. But talk about why this is such a passion of yours, and obviously, coming from your sobriety now, you've been sober since
1999.
Since 1999.
September 27th. 1999.
Outstanding.
We always know the dates.
That's right.
That's right. I know when I joined the Marine Corps, when I got out, and when I got sober.
I'm in that boat too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you get, once you get your act together, it's time to put your oar in the water and help row this lifeboat, right? And that's all I'm trying to do. And so Elysian Shores, this is what we're trying to do. We're not only trying to build housing and get people off of the street. We're building permanent supportive housing. That's where the rub comes, right? It's very difficult to get people to ensure a total permanent supportive housing project. It's just hard because these are trauma inflicted individuals, right? And putting them all together is like a powder keg. So the thing that also comes as an obstacle outside of security is the actual people that provide the services. They get burnt out, and they're hard to find these people at any rate, right? So my job is to design affordable mixed housing with a permanent supportive housing component. So by building anywhere from 6 stories to 14 stories, that bottom floor is going to be, the front side is the lobby, the back side is a permanent supportive house. You got security, you got therapists, you got the support that is needed, right?
Yeah.
And the actual the actual the room will be trauma informed, past it. I just want to say that the project that I want to put together is going to threefold. It's going to house the unhoused. It's going to create affordable housing for these millennials and Gen Zs that can't find anywhere, but also it's going to support families that are homeless as well, unhoused. So that is what we're striving for. I mean, you have to have the multi-generational um, burden, because kids can see that there is hope, and our traumatized veterans can see there is hope. You are not meant to be alone. This is what you're supposed to be taking part in. So that's what we are striving to do. And I really look for any support. We're at ElysianShores.com. You can look at the full layout of the plan, and donate. There are links to donate, or even just become involved, because we're always looking for architects. We're looking for social workers. We're looking for connections in the community that support our veterans community, the unhoused. That's who we are. That's what we're here to do. It's a heavy lift, but it is well worth it. What else do I have to do with my life other than help somebody else? Because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's a huge tasker. And, that's super important that you have gone through so much to finally come to this place where you are today. And, so often there's veterans that have, gone down the deep end, and we've lost them to suicide, to, just the substance itself, whatever it is that they're taking, that just puts them down. And then, it's cool when you have veterans that are thriving and have passion and purpose to serve our community in some way. That service heart that Chef always talks about to me all the time. It's good to see you on that, brother.
Yep, that's a fact.
Thank you.
Is this building? Are you looking for sustainability in the long run too? Like, we got to be self-supporting through our own contribution. We do that in the program.
Correct.
And so, I mean, are they they might move in, and it might be, affordable housing or free housing, but they are going to give them themselves, like, to keep it clean, or to work inside the community to make it even better, or long-term sustainability is what I'm asking. Do you have goals for that, or?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
along with those recovery programs, they're also going to have workforce retraining, right? Like you get
workforce development
kind of training and TAPS.
Yeah,
workforce development. Also, they're going to have opportunities to join get retrained in other skills such as security, and they can actually work within the communities that we build, right? Because that's security first. But housing first, then sobriety. Yeah. So once they get settled, just remember, because these floors have deep floor spaces, the center of those buildings are going to have meeting rooms and things of that nature too. So it's going to be support at every level.
Yeah,
but the sustainability, that's what
the key.
That's why it's mixed housing as well, because these programs can't fund themselves, right? HUD vouchers don't pay for, a $40 million project. That's just not how it works.
And also they give them free housing, but they don't teach them anything or show them, to be part of their own recovery, or to be responsible or self-supporting, or how to go out and get a job, that all that stuff's all inclusive, and if you can do that, you've got a winning combination,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I've been clean and sober for 35 years, so I got long-term sobriety, and I give back in the community, but it's not for me. It's, we work in the community that we live in, and we give back because we have a servant heart, and we realize that if we don't, then it's not going to happen.
Right.
And one thing that I always tell people like you that work in the community, listen, you can't outgive God. Just try doing it.
Never, ever, never, right?
Never. Yeah, because it always comes back to you tenfold. So, and most of the people I work with understand that, and you're in the same boat. That's the thing that you got on your side that you can entice people with. Also, not so much entice them, but show them that they'll get rewarded beyond their largest imagination of where they want to be in life. And
Attraction, not promotion.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Hey, Noble, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, please put that information out there. And if you ever want to come back here on my 10-minute segments, usually I have a guest and then I have a 10-minute segment available for anybody. If you got an event coming up, a fundraiser that you're doing, something that you just need to get the word out to, this is really important. And obviously you're in the Southern California, obviously all the way down in San Diego area. So keep that in mind, but feel free to put out any information you want to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to drop the link here in the chat. And
you can find these links too. Yeah, these links are in the show notes as well, just so everybody knows. But you can always find Noble through me in the show. So
yep,
it's always a good place to look.
Okay, well, all you need from me.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. But thanks a lot. You got anything else you want to put out there? Feel free, brother.
Well, gentlemen, I just want to say, no matter
you do
where
a podcast,
you're at in your journey,
you do a podcast. I wanted to put that out there. Check out his podcast. Got a lot of information about the buildings, what he's doing. He's got 3 parts to just that part alone. It's kind of cool. Check Noble out. He's all over YouTube, and So go ahead, Phil. Yeah, add anything else there, Noble.
Yeah. Elysian Shores, supportive housing. Come and check out, what it takes to help others, and maybe you might decide to join us on this journey. Again, as Chef is saying, what you have, wasn't all through work. It was by grace, right? And just give what you have freely, and it will always come back to you tenfold. We have to live in a mindset of abundance, not scarcity, right? Because there's enough to go around, and we were built like this, right? We're supposed to be able to be part of a community, and when one of us falls, somebody picks them up, or a couple of us pick them up and drag them across the finish line. So we are here, hands open.
Great point.
Thank you so much for bringing me on board here today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother.
Noble.
Thanks for coming on.
I look forward to meeting you someday.
Hey, good stuff, Chef.
Yeah, a lot of good work going on in San Diego. The first time I was in San Diego was 1971, and it was April. Everybody was walking around. There was palm trees, sunshine. I came from Oregon with rain all the time, hardly any sunshine. Everybody's tan. The girls are in bikinis. I mean, it's 71, right? It's
right,
the 70s. The beach was packed. The ocean breeze was coming through. I'm thinking, where have I been all my life? This is the land of milk and honey. I'm going to move here someday. When I get out of the Coast Guard, I'm going to move here.
Uh-huh.
And then I wasn't back until 1991, and I went back to see my uncle and my aunt, and they lived outside of Lemon, California, there in San Diego area. And everybody, when I was there in 71, it was like maybe 500,000 people, maybe.
Yeah,
probably
it was
350.
It looked a lot like Camp Pendleton does today.
Yeah, 4 million. 4 million people living there. It was like,
thank goodness
where did they all come from?
Thank goodness for Camp Pendleton, because that would be just totally overrun by city after city after city. It's still wilderness. It's still got training areas and great, hikes. It's not really the kind of hike that you go on, but there are a lot of hiking events going on Camp Pendleton. Yeah. Hey, and I just want to, in 1991, that's the first time I saw San Diego as well, because that's where I went to boot camp and all that stuff. And my life on the beach was a little bit different than what you're talking about. It was close to the beach, but
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
lot of standing at attention and parade rest and hiking all over that place too at MCRD. But hey, I just want to say, a shout out to, Noble for being on. It's great, and he had to go up to Alaska, and Brian Colburn, who, is the manager of the show, he producer of the show. He was up in ADAC as well. So it's really cool to know that these things are happening.
Yeah.
I think Chef, you could have been up in ADAC on the one of your cruises up there, but you didn't make it that far. You were up in Oregon, but you didn't have to go to ADAC. Huh?
Well, I was stationed out of Pier 91 in Seattle, but I never did any of the Coast Guard bases up there. In fact, when they transferred me, it was to a base in Oregon. They tried to keep you pretty
localized.
Yeah, localized where you were from. So, it seemed to work pretty well.
Right. Yeah, it's great because, I didn't think there was that many Coast Guard guys really, but today I'm walking out of the building and this guy's like, "Hey, did you just come out of the VTRC?" And he's like, and he just happened to be another Coast Guard guy, but I had a great conversation with him. He was like, "Hey, what kind of stuff is available?" And these kind of things. And he's like, "I'm not really looking for benefits because, I got out in 1971 and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, wow, I was like, have you, he doesn't have his VA ID card and some other things. He's like, "I'm not really looking for that." And it's a constant thing. And it's really cool. Not every veteran needs to take advantage of every benefit out there, but you have the VA and he got his home loan through it. And he served.
Yeah.
And I would say, for you to check into the VA wherever you're at and register, whether you're a 0% or not, is a really good step to moving forward in some directions that you have benefits to. And
with the cost of healthcare today.
Oh yeah, if you
look how astronomical it's become, and if you're on Social Security and Medicare, why not have VA medical if you've got it?
Correct.
It'll be a lot cheaper for you in the long run.
And and I understand there's a lot of veterans out there looking at things, and I would say there's a train with a seat on it for you, and it's driving by for every veteran that's out there in so many different ways. And all those seats are empty because you guys are looking at them and saying, "Oh, that seat's not for me. It's for the guy that's missing an eye or leg or two legs because I'm missing one, but I don't deserve that seat." But I would say get in those seats and figure out what it is that you're going to be able to do to help the community that you are part of.
That's right.
You can still take and there's a lot of veterans getting benefits and they're not doing anything good with them. They're drinking themselves to death. They're causing a lot of problems. They're doing this, and that. I'm not saying that's every vet, but I'm saying that those things exist. But why not be involved with yourself, with the community, serving somewhere, doing something that's bigger and better than yourself? Because in that process, you're going to get help and support along the way. And just like Chef was talking about, Noble, giving more, it comes back to you tenfold. And you may not believe that. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that. But, I've seen it happen time and time again. There's a bunch of people giving, and there's a lot of things coming back to them in ways that you would never know. Events that you're going to see, because living life is living life and life not living you. Yeah. And it's not, we serve this country. We don't want to be doing anything else. We kind of served it, and there's plenty of times that we look at our government and say, "Hey, we wish we could make a difference." And we can, but we get so ticked off that we make a difference by just complaining about it. And that's not necessarily the way. It's like, get off your butt, sign up to be a politician, do something that's incredible. I know it sounds like the worst thing you could possibly do. I don't want to be a politician. I get it. I'm happy to have served my country, and I'm happy to serve where I serve today.
Yeah. But see, these guys, they say, well, that's not for me, but just one little thing, like the Million Vet program. There's a program out there. If you're a veteran, you can sign up for a Million Vet program. It takes a few minutes. You can do it at any of the hospitals or medical centers. And they send out questionnaires.
Great program.
And if you think you're not helping anybody, answer the questionnaire, because that's how they deem what needs to be done. And you're helping another veteran, believe it or not, because you're talking about your issues. They're talking about their issues, and all of a sudden it becomes more issues that the VA needs to help with, then that's what's going to happen. You know, the worst thing for a veteran today is they get lonely, so they start, you know, just staying lonely and don't go near anybody, don't talk to anybody. Then the depression sets in, and the loneliness and the depression, and that's why the suicide rate is so high. I mean, it's just, you know it, I know it. It's like they start, you know, just moving back from people, staying at home. Pretty soon they're drinking too much or taking too many drugs, and you know, then all of a sudden it's the depression sets in, and they can't deal with it. Instead of knowing who to call or what to do, if you get on that train and you take that seat and you need help, we'll help you. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and
The
it's
whole
it's
VA.
it's hard to get used to like sitting in that seat though. It's
Yeah.
hard to,
Well,
know,
it's
and
hard to get on board.
it's hard to get on board. And
Yeah.
and really it's hard because, you know, you've put barriers up in your mind to kind of say, hey, that's not for me. But really, even me, as I'm saying, I don't want to be a politician, and I don't. But I mean, I would take a look at it, you know,
Yeah.
and it's willing to take a chance to go, hey, what can I do to make a difference in my life in a direction that you want to go? And
That's it.
a lot of times, sometimes when you sit down with a few veterans that are in the same boat and they're moving forward in some direction that you kind of wanted to go, you find better direction. And
That's right.
I'm just saying, try. You know, it's not for everybody. There's going to be plenty of you out there isolating, doing your thing. But I hope when you find these podcasts, I hope when you find them, there's some resources in there. And there might be somebody that you want to talk to. Reach out to them, reach out to me, say, hey, you know what? You had this guy on your show. I want to talk to him. You know, I'm not inaccessible. I'm very accessible. And I try to be. So, you know, I don't have all the answers, but I do have a lot of people on my side that tend to have more of those answers that are needed. And Chef too.
Yeah.
And this is what we do.
Together, we can achieve more. You know, if you, like you said, if you find that group that's going in the same direction you are, you know, with numbers, it's easier. Any job that we have to do, more hands make it easier. And that's what we got to realize, is that you can make a difference. We all can make a big difference if we just try. So if we're involved, then we can try and we can make a difference. And that's where the most important part is. It's when you say, well, and the biggest thing for older vets, man, you got to realize older vets, when they first came to the VA, it wasn't like it is today. You know, today, if you have an appointment, they see you within the first 15 minutes, or you go up and tell them, and they'll put you right up. I mean, they are quick and accurate. In the old days, you used to go, well, better pack a lunch. I'm going to the VA today, because it was unbelievable. Sometimes 8-10 hours, and then they were closing.
Right.
I mean, I was always seeing, but you know, it was unbelievable. And how bad is it to sit around a VA hospital for 8 or 9 hours, or even 4 hours, and listen to some of the horrors and stuff, and see everybody disgruntled because they're not happy? You know, why would you want to go there? Well, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. Hey, and I just, you know, I'm going to hand it over to Chef real quick, because he's going to have a whole bunch of things to bring up. I'm going to have a lot of things. Shout out to Mike DeLeon, Recon Chief Incorporated, LLC. Hey, thanks for giving us a shout out on the screen here. And anybody else who watches the show, thanks a lot. You know, press the like and share. You know, one of the things that doesn't happen enough is the share button. And, you know, whether you believe in everything that's going on here or anything like that, you know, if you share this, you're going to probably help a veteran somewhere along the line. That's all I'm saying. And you know, this is strictly because I love doing what I do, helping veterans. I do a lot with the PTSD Foundation of America, Warrior Built Foundation. This is coming live to you from the Veterans Transition Resource Centers
Here
in Las Vegas, in the studio right here. And you know, and the podcast is Combat Vet Vision, and there's so many cool things about it. So Chef, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you add anything. You got events coming up. You got all kinds of stuff to bring up.
Yeah, the first event is the gala up north at the VTRC North. It's in Reno also area. And at Carson City at the museum, they're having Gala for Heroes. It's going to be a poker tournament. Texas Hold'em. You can buy a seat. There'll be hors d'oeuvres and food and drinks and just a good time. And it helps support our northern office, Denise Davies up there. It's going to be a good time. I'll be up there. So if you stop in, stop and say hello and how you heard us, or if you heard us on the radio, or on the podcast, and love to talk with you. But we have that going on. We have October 11th, Saturday, from I think it's 11 to 5, or it's a chili cook-off, and you can come and cook your chili there, and then have samples, and there'll be some awards afterwards. It's a fundraiser for the VTRC, and that'll be a great event for us. It'll be, I think, our 7th or 8th annual this time, so that's a good thing. Besides that, that's about what we got going on right now. Thanksgiving's around the corner, believe it or not, and Halloween's even closer. So we're working away. September 12th is the VTRC poker tournament. So I'll be up there that month. And then I have a lot of things going in October and November. But, if you get on the train, you'll talk to people. I mean, if you go on a train, do you just take a long ride and not talk to anybody? Usually not. Somebody always talks to you. And same thing, if you go to the VA hospital and it's easy to get qualified, you just take your DD-214 form. They'll get you a picture ID sent out to you. Every time you go, I learn a lot of things when I sit in the waiting rooms of the VA hospital about benefits or other things that I didn't even have a clue was going on. So
right on.
It's good to be involved, and
it is.
It's what we do to give back. So, and you have a servant heart. I have a servant heart.
Yeah, I have 3 warrior groups every week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, for the PTSD Foundation of America. Mondays 2:30, 7:30 on Tuesday, and 2:30 again on Wednesday. So many things going on out there all the time. Many veteran organizations are doing things. If you're a nonprofit org, or if you're a business that supports veterans and you want to be on the show and talk about it, let's get you on. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure that gets put out there, because I believe our transitions as veterans become very difficult, but with this as a resource, it may make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Sure. And you know what? It's always better for your family if you've got places that you can go to for resources.
Families.
Yeah. Right. It's all about the families,
Yeah.
Next generation.
Hey, we're going to bring Brian on. You got anything?
Yeah. No,
well, we're going to bring Brian on because, Brian, he's the producer of the show, and he's a coach for podcasts. And Brian, come on deck and give us the down low, brother.
First of all, we've only got a little bit of time, but it's weird to talk to somebody that spent time in ADAC and hear their perspective.
You guys were texting away over there. I see that.
Yeah, we are. And Noble, I'm gonna reach out and give you a holler. Hopefully you'll stay on after, man. Dude, great story, and what a humble guy to share the not so shiny stuff of life. But it's those trials and tribulations that led him to do the good work that he's doing now. And it's easy to say, oh, look at the shiny stars on the wall, look at the good work I'm doing. But the road that got you there, people sharing that is going to encourage hopefully more people to do their part, and continue the work. And guys, great show, great conversation. You guys are knocking it out of the park. I'm going to shut it off there because we've got 20 seconds. We'll see you next
Thanks,
week.
Brian. Appreciate you.
See you next week. And everybody have wonderful meals and bon appetit.
Great stuff, Chef.
Yeah.
Hey, until next time, hey, be involved in yourself, be involved in service, help the community, but help yourself first, and put that mask on, and let's carry on.
Yeah.
I look forward to the guests that come on the show, and I love having the ones that have been on here. And if you want to get back on here, if you have something to say, if you got a some sort of flyer you need to put out there, a 10-minute segment for you to brief some cool things that are going on, let's do it. Till next time, strength and honor out.
Yeah.
The only way, and we need nothing more. The only way, together forever, that's for sure.